A good day to you. I want to bring some science and reason. My last talk was on the recovery trial by Oxford, and my observations were these. The French trial of Prof. Raoult consistently pointed out why they used hydroxychloroquine with azithromycin. There is a pharmacodynamic interaction. I am Dr. Lalith Mendis from Sri Lanka. My last substantive post was as head of Department of Pharmacology in a state medical faculty. My previous research has been on NSAIDs, low-dose aspirin, levodopa, and migraine, irritable bowel syndrome, and so on. So that's why I comment on this. So the French research consistently showed that their effectivity, they have treated over nearly 4,000 patients, 92% cure rate with hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin. The two together act to increase the pH of the lysosome. That is, hydroxychloroquine blocks the entry of the virus by hydroxychloroquine attaching to the ACE2 enzyme, which is on the surface of lung cells, red blood cells, and so on, which the virus spike protein attaches to. Hydroxychloroquine blocks that, HCQ blocks it. Besides that, when azithromycin and hydroxychloroquine act together, inside the lysosome, protons collect, and that results in the pH increasing. When pH increases, the virus can't multiply. Secondly, the azithromycin HCQ combination blocks different molecules in the immune cascade formation. Azithromycin and HCQ together has an effect on that also. So at 4 different levels, there's a pharmacodynamic synergy between the two, and Professor Raoult attributes his cure rate with HCQ and azithromycin in the Anti-Infection National Hospital in Marseille to that. Then the Grossman Medical College of the New York University did a controlled clinical trial with hydroxychloroquine and zinc. Scientists know that zinc is antiviral, and hydroxychloroquine, besides its own action, acts as an ion of 4, getting zinc into the lysosome inside the cell, and therefore obstructing or inhibiting replication of the virus. So then when the Oxford study did not consider the research that has gone before them and used hydroxychloroquine alone, then it's an issue. Why not continuity? Why not check continuity? And secondly, whether the dose was enough in the recovery trial. I speak especially because in Sri Lanka we have treated about 1,100 hospitalized patients with only 11 deaths. The recovery trial, even the control group had 23% deaths. That shows that they were far advanced in disease, and it has been consistently pointed out hydroxychloroquine is effective when you give very early as symptoms begin to manifest. So these are some of the issues that one has to take up with the Oxford clinical trial. Then they also stopped the hydroxychloroquine arm while they continued with the other arms of lopinavir, remdesivir. They continued those arms and stopped the hydroxychloroquine arm early and made a public announcement without doing the usual peer review and publishing it in a journal. That looks not an academic action. That is my assessment. Why this sudden public announcement? What is the compulsion? Other arms continue and hydroxychloroquine arm does not continue, and there's no peer review in that. The person, the deputy of the lead author, second lead author, he did the announcement, and we don't have raw data to do, and what their statistical conclusions were, whether they are valid, we have no raw data available. So those are some issues that pharmacologists will take up with the trial. But today I want to look at a situation, because now Norway and many other scientists have said the virus has been made in a lab. Molecular tools have been used. Why do they say that? The bat coronavirus RNA nucleotide sequence is there, almost 80%. At the point furin enzyme breaks up the nucleotide, that's the genetic engineering point where molecular tool is applied. Molecular tool is the furin enzyme. It's that at that point, part of the bat coronavirus has been removed and the HIV sequence has been attached, which can be only done in a lab. Professor Luc Montagino, the one who described the HIV virus and won the Nobel Prize, described this nearly 8-10 weeks ago. And actually, in the beginning of January of 2020, 5 Indian scientists discovered this, reported it on a virology platform. So we know that the virus was made in a lab. So for what purpose? And the theory that mutations increase function is actually rubbish. We all know gain of function does not happen with mutations. So bat coronavirus could never have done this mutation in order to enter human cells. So what happens with the genetic modulation of the bat coronavirus, where we got the CoV2 penetrates the ACE2 and through the ACE2 enzyme, its penetration power into a human cell is 20 times more than the SARS-CoV-1. So we know this is a completely new virus. This is not a random mutation. So here I come to my topic, rulership, the march of history, the crowning of the Machiavellian prince, health and peace in our time. I want to assess something. So what was the first rule? First rule in human society was patriarchal. Father or clan leader. Why do we need this wisdom at this time? I want to read this book of wisdom. Wisdom shouts in the street. Why has it got to shout? There are so many other voices staking a claim. So even when you're in a field like medicine, pharmacology, even what the reputed Lancet journal published on that meta-analysis, they had to retract. It said 96,000 cases were studied to see it was fake data, fake analysis, and Lancet had to retract. When a major journal has to make a retraction, every article after that you begin to check what is it reliable or not. This is not the first time under the editorship of the present editor, chief editor, other controversial political articles have been appearing in Lancet. Now this was purportedly the meta-analysis that was going to tell the world, the medical world, academic world, whether hydroxychloroquine works or not. So we can see that when politics plays a part into pharmacological analysis and deductions, it's a serious trouble. So here I am just reading this. Wisdom shouts in the street. She lifts her voice in the square. So there are streets, then there's a square, meaning of human interaction, marketplace maybe. We need wisdom. Because there's such a drive for consumerism. For instance, the children are made to consume endless digital stuff. There are online studies and so many stuff. Now I'm published on this. I presented my academic research on the effect of the pixel screen to academic sessions of Sri Lanka Medical Association. It is available on the web as the simulation of digital abuse, simulating ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. If you want to contact me, you can through WhatsApp. You can send a WhatsApp to +94 77 49 59 214. I can send you the whole article. If not, you can go to the website of College of General Practitioners Sri Lanka, CGPSL, and you can do a search on Dr. Lalith Mendis. My article will be available, and it is used for continuous professional deficiency by the College of General Practitioners Sri Lanka. What does it contain? The precise pixel effect on curriculum, career and character choices. It refers mainly to the ages from 0 to 14. I'll give you 5 laws there. Very quickly, I have done this before. So if you want to get these 5 laws and other things, please send me a WhatsApp. Then you can have it. Yes, so wisdom, you can't be ignorant. Wisdom is crying in the street, shouting in the street, lifting up a voice in the square, in the marketplace, because so many other things are pervading not only children, pervading your understanding, and fake news is so surreptitiously deceptive. You can consume fake thinking is truth. That's the problem. Then at the head of the at the head of interactions, so that is a more academic kind of thing, or where you decide stuff. Wisdom needs to be heard. Wisdom cries out. Why is wisdom crying out? Because wisdom is failing. Wisdom feels she's not heard. That's why. Then fourthly, at the entrance of the gates in the city, she utters a saying. So gates in those days were places of judgment, decision, government. There she gives her input. And to whom is wisdom speaking? 22, how long, O naive ones, will you love being simple-minded? So the 1/3 of the world's people, according to this saying, is simple-minded. They are ignorant, and they don't mind being ignorant. They are manipulated. They don't mind being fake. They just listen to that, and they go with that news. They go with this news. Whatever it is said, they don't go deeper than that. They believe others. Others decide for them, and the number who decide for them is increasing, and the digital screen is deciding for your child. That's my consistent theme. And they become alienated from you. They don't believe you anymore. They believe the spook magic monster of the digital screen, virtual and virtual reality. Yes, virtual and reality. They're simple-minded. Secondly, the scoffers delight themselves in scoffing. Scoffers are very determined what they are. They want to dismantle the present order. They want to dismantle family. They want to dismantle sexuality. They want to dismantle any relationship. They want to dismantle headship. So they attack headship in the family. Father's headship, mother's headship, the headship of the marital covenant they attack, headship of sexuality, where sex should be practiced, anywhere, anytime is their standard. That is not our standard, that is not wisdom. Then they attack headship in a state, in a nation. We know national leaders make mistakes, no doubt about that. However, if we dismantle national leaders like this, who will come for public service, isn't it? Now, we professionals are reticent. I mean, we don't like to get into politics. We don't like to get into the legislature. We feel we belong in the executive. But there has to be people who go to the legislature and make national policy. If they are bombarded all the time. Now, take the case of the tragic death of Floyd in US. Completely wrong. A police officer with a criminal record did it. Now, world over, riots are erupting, and poor Churchill's statue, or Churchill's poor statue, suffers in UK. So what is that? And such destruction. Surely there are scoffers who are planning to use others destructively. We need wisdom on that. So firstly, those who are manipulated by others, they are simply ignorant. They don't educate themselves, be it buying some brand or what should they eat. They don't educate themselves. They just eat anything, consume anything. So that's simple-minded. Second kind are scoffers who are planning to use others for their profit. So just a little sensitive thing. Just a little sensitive thing. So many American manufacturers prefer to manufacture in China simply because when they can make let's say a product is 10 US in China, if they go to make it in US, it will be at least 30 US. Now a president is saying, come back to your country and make your manufacture. Will they want to do this? No. they will want to manufacture all they can for China. And when they manufacture it in China, they will give Sri Lanka one quality, and some African countries, even of the same drug, a worse quality. All you have to do to check this out is, when you next have to take amoxicillin, get amoxicillin produced by our state pharmaceutical company. And when you need amoxicillin, when you are prescribed amoxicillin, and then you swallow it with your third dose, you get the smell of amoxicillin in urine. That's pharmacokinetics. Now, buy a similar brand from another country, I assure you, with the third dose, you will not get the smell of urine. So what has happened? That brand for which you pay more doesn't have the quality of the amoxicillin our SPMC produces. So what's happening? The quality of a drug for one country is one. For African countries, is certainly worse than Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka has a good record of our health and good record of manufacturing standards in the pharmaceutical industry. So they'll be careful about what comes to Sri Lanka. But then the gateway is the prescribing doctor. So when I prescribe amoxicillin, I say amoxicillin SPMC. Then people come with some brand that has come from Pakistan or Bangladesh or wherever it is. Then I send back saying, no, I didn't ask for that. I asked for amoxicillin SPMC. So these are some things from which you will know. So when manufacturers want to manufacture in China, they abuse the Chinese people. No labor laws, no industrial law. So you can produce anything at that cheap quality and get exponential profit. For whatever reason, a head of state says, get back to your country and do the manufacturing. The global profiteers, they are ruining China's ecology, they are ruining China's people. China's organ trade is a massive scandal. I don't know whether you're aware about it. Just do a little Google and say, China's organ trade. There are Chinese children who don't have organ. They have all kinds of scars all over their body. And from the West and other countries, people keep going to China. They tried to do this in Sri Lanka, but with about the third or fourth case, they got caught. Yeah, they tried it in Sri Lanka. The organ trade is a terrible thing, but it is flourishing in China. So there is no criticism of China. It's a sad thing. China is a great country. China should do well. Tears come into my eyes when I think of the plight of the Chinese people, exploited by those who live only for profit at the expense of human life. Now, they did this for other brands for a long time, other consumerist items. But when it comes to health, and Oxford says we can't produce the vaccine, we don't think it's coming through. Not only because there are no people for trial, also because these man-made vaccines, man-made viruses are just a bit of strip of RNA, bit of protein here and there. You can't get proper immunity with such a virus. That is the problem of SARS. That was the problem of HIV. No virus for how many decades? SARS in 2003, no virus to this day. So what is the guarantee that there will be no vaccine to this day? What is the guarantee that this vaccine will come? So when Oxford is doubtful and China says 99% sure we will have the vaccine, and WHO says yes, you know there's a problem. The best vaccine ever is the tetanus toxoid. It's about over 90% effective. When China says 99% we are sure that we'll make a vaccine, that's not science speaking. That is some other agenda speaking, especially in the realm of vaccines for RNA viruses. I've explained this before. Triple vaccine, excellent. Oral polio vaccine, excellent. MMR, there are dicey things, but it still gives immunity. There's a lot of debate about what else it does, but it gives immunity. But RNA vaccines against RNA, no immunity. That's the scientific fact. So here comes another RNA virus called CoV2, and so many people are wanting viruses made, vaccines made, and then when someone says get a digital chip with every strain mark there. The Chinese CoV2, the Italy CoV2, Spain CoV2, or without every strain of CoV2 marked in the digital marker, you can't go to another country. Then you know this is a setup and this is a get up. Okay, so I want to, this is how health is being invaded, just the way the sexual life of the child was invaded, and the child is made to consume what the screen advertises. So I want to get back to the march of what was, I gave this title, Rulership, March of History, Crowning of the Machiavellian Prince, Health and Peace in Our Time. You will recognize peace in our time was what Neville Chamberlain kept saying when Hitler was attacking Czechoslovakia. I think when he was coming towards Poland, I forget the history exactly, but with one country, Britain knew they can't avoid the trouble. That's how the Second World War, Britain engaged. So first government was patriarchal. So here is a patriarch speaking. Now I have looked at three kinds of people: the simple-minded ones, the scoffers, and the fools who hate knowledge. I'm sorry, I missed the third kind of people. Third kind of people, fools who hate knowledge. That word fool is not a intellect thing. It's something fractured in their heart, because a senior who was responsible for knowledge to them, dad, teacher, boss, anyone else can you think of, who was responsible for giving knowledge, did something not good, their heart got fractured. So that folly is not a brain folly, it's something in the heart where they lost reason, they lost trust, they don't trust knowledge. So when knowledge is, how are they described? As fools hate knowledge. When knowledge is coming, they're suspicious. I will trust only what I know. So 1/3 of the people are like that. 1/3 are scoffers who are planning profit from people. They may use health, they may use some other brand, they may use some other consumable. In recent times they have used health issues so many times to make profit. Then the first kind was simple-minded, who say, I'll go with what others tell me, which is not good in this time. So the first kind of government was patriarchal. Here is a patriarch speaking. Please follow with me. There is a patriarch speaking. The voices of the nobles were hushed and their tongues stuck to them. What was he doing? Because I delivered the poor who cried for help. Now, what is my thesis? That world's first government was patriarchal. The clan, the senior of the clan, okay? That worked in the initial cities, let's say 2200 BC. Cities were governed at the thing called the gate. Actually, they had a gate and there were walls often to protect it from enemies. And at the gate sat judgment or the city council. Yeah. And there would be a city council who would be recognized as a city father. Now, even in our day, we have had this language, isn't it? City father, father of a nation. Now, this is the ruling governance schedule or the ruling retinue of a city father around about 2300 BC. What is he saying? How did he rule? I delivered the poor who cried for help and the orphan who had no helper. Now, see, he's the most powerful man in the city. In his city, he is the most powerful man, the patriarch, the clan leader. Now, his rule of ethic was first the poor who cried for help, second the orphan who had no helper. What a high standard of governance. What do you think about what happens to the poor now? Are we more civilized? Did science do us better? You need to think seriously. These are rules of governance this city leader had in 2300 BC. Then he says, blessing of the one ready to perish came upon me, and I made the widow's heart sing for joy. Just imagine, he's listing his priorities of governance. He first says the poor who cried for help, 2, the orphan who had none to help, 3, the blessing of the one ready to perish, probably the sick or whatever, came upon me. I made the widow's heart sing. The widow. Now we know Sri Lanka has quite a problem of widows and orphans since the war, where the North and the South have to meet together, and our government has to take this into consideration. So then he says, I put on righteousness and it clothed me. My justice was like a robe and a turban. So righteousness is the sense of how it is right. If we do this with God, then we have God as the standard. If we do not do this with God, what would be right? Whom do we eliminate? Will we get into eugenics and population control, the fittest surviving? Weak brains don't have to live? How would we decide? How would we decide if we eliminate the righteousness of God? Cicero said it would require God to give men laws who can think above the system of man, above the system of profit. Others have thought these things through. So this gentleman, the city leader, the clan leader, the patriarch. So righteousness is where you get your standard. Justice is what you mete out. So when you have no standard, if you are the rule and the measure of all you want to do, what justice gets meted out? It'll be a justice of you profit from everything. For some people that is justice, you profit from everything. I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame. Now this may be physical or literal, or it may be that he was acting and thinking on behalf of people who are not very wise or physically weak in some way. I was father to the needy. I investigated the case which I did not know. This is how we exercise jurisprudence. I broke the jaws of the wicked and snatched the prey from his teeth. Probably it was not physical, it was some other way. Then I thought, so these are the way he exercised social justice. Now he comes to how he kept morality. Now this is a city father, the patriarch, the ruler. How he kept morality. This is how he kept morality. Let me quickly read. Yes. If my heart has been enticed by a woman, or have lurked at my neighbor's doorway, may my wife, he says. So his morality was my wife only, no more, no other hanky-panky. That is about sexual morality. And here comes another one, for that would be a lustful crime. He says it's punishable by the law of his city. That would be punishable. If I have despised the claim of my male or female slave when they filed a complaint against me, what then? So that is about labor laws. Now remember, this is 2,300 patriarch, city leader, clan leader sitting in the council at the gate, and his first one was sexual morality, no playing around with other people. Second one is about labor laws. If I have despised the claim of my male or female laborer, they will file the complaint against me. Isn't it? Against the city leader, they can file a complaint. Then, did not he who made me in the womb make him? And the same one fashion us in the womb. So for him, the righteous standard of equality, he attributed that to his belief that the same one made us both. So that's where he got his morality. Now please hold on a few more things. If I have kept the poor from their desire, if the poor were not considered, and if I did not share my food, he says, then there would be consequences. If I have seen anyone perish for lack of clothing, and the needy had no covering, if I did not attend, there would be consequences. If I did not share my food with the orphan, there would be consequences. If I have lifted my hand against the orphan because I saw I had support in the gate. Now listen to this. If I have lifted up my hand against the orphan because I saw I had support in the gate. He said, look, I'm a big man in the city gate, and all the other council members will support me because I'm the big man. But I have to consider the orphan. What a high level of governing morality. 2200 BC city, small cities, maximally 1000, 1500, nothing more than 2000 anyway. Those cities have been excavated, archaeology has shown what they are like. He's saying, let my shoulder fall from the socket. That means I'll lose my strength, let my shoulder fall from the socket and my arm be broken off. A very severe censure he puts on himself. Calamity from God will come and so on. Okay, so there are some things more, but I want to get on with the next kind of government was religiocracy. Priest or prophet would rule. Often that was not good, because the father, the patriarch, did better. So when people looked to religion, prophet or priest to rule, it depended on his integrity, and in many places justice got corrupted, and the priest agreed with the power, and they cooked morality, justice together. So religion and politics was a toxic brew throughout man's history. Problem being, religion belongs in the realm of absolutes, absolute loyalty, and politics is about how you can be fair to each other. So Rasputin and Tsar, throughout history, there have been problems when religious figures and political figures got together. The political figure wanted the religious figure to get popular religious favor, and religion is quite open to playing politics. So in many histories it has not been a good thing. And even in the nation that God chose to be a model nation, in Israel, from time to time, there were good prophets and there were terrible times when they just did as the king pleased, and they sanitized all what the king did. But there was a religiocracy also. Even now there are countries in which religion rules with legislative power, that. Thirdly, the feudalism, when aristocrats ruled, the nobles ruled, and in France the king and the nobles ruled, and the French Revolution came in 1789, and in Sri Lanka most of the time it was the king and the nobles who had all the land, all the produce of the land, and people were vassals in feudal rule, that. And the story about the man who made jaggery, and the king said, how do you make jaggery? Jaggery is a sweet stuff. We can make it out of different palm trees. You can make it out of kitul or coconut, and Sri Lankan jaggery or Sri Lankan treacle is the best in the world, just like Sri Lankan tea or cinnamon. Yes, that's right, you got it right. Many things best in the world is found in Sri Lanka. That's a little biased opinion. Anyway, king said, how do you make your jaggery? It's so good. He said, oh, I put up a real nice covering of real pure silks, and I used for firewood I use sandalwood. King said, really? I want to come and see. So one day king went quite suddenly, and the man is sweating away. It's all very dirty, smoky, and the man is putting sweat also into the jaggery mixture, and all that into that. King said, "Che, is this how you make it? That's not what you told me." Then the man said, "It is like this, O king. When you speak the kings used to be carried." So he said, I spoke for a king in the king's language, but actually I do it like that. So that's about feudal rule, when everything had to be made for the king. Then there's autocracy and dictatorship. Now most kings were lex rex. Rex lex. King was the law. Locke changed it in England. At least he theorized about it. Most of the time when king was there, king was the law. So in Sri Lanka you have many stories about it, the king being the law. We had a king called Kakile, and some of you know that how, it's too long a story, okay, when king becomes law. Then you had the plutocracy, the elite rule. Pluto gave this theory that the elite will rule better than the commoner. Now we are at present, few elite, global elite think they should make economic laws, health laws, and that they think they are better than the nations. They want to look after the world. So why did nations come? nations come when all were together in 2300 BC, shall we say? About 2250 BC, when all were together, they built a huge big tower saying Babel. And the ruling elite got the masses to build this monster for their glory. So there was a ruling elite who abused the people. So what happened was nations were divided, languages were given, and nations were put into classrooms. This is my explanation. So every language group was a classroom, so that language group will look after their own better than when the whole conglomerate is under few fellows who are abusing everybody. Did you understand that? Did you understand that? Now imagine if Sri Lanka is a nation, India is a huge nation, and if each nation does not look after its own well, what happens? Global invaders begin to remove national protection, begin to remove national sovereignty, and global predators begin to get into the nation. Got the point? So it is better to look after your own nation. Don't create human rights issues so that global invaders come and tell us, we'll take you over and we will do better for you. So that is plutocracy. Then there was democracy with the Magna Carta in 1250 AD in England, democracy. Then there was Machiavellian princedom in Florence. That is, one prince said, I know everything, I will do it my way. Then there was Marxian rule with communist revolutions coming. Karl Marx in 1859 gave the thesis for that. Then there was capitalism ruling, rightist rule with Keynesian, John Maynard Keynes giving the capitalist doctrine for more consumerism, more demand, more supply. Then these two were in balance, fighting. Then came the neoliberal rule. Since USSR fell, since 1990, socialism was the talk, while profit was the king. The neoliberal stuff. When did neoliberalism came? From about 1989, when Petroskia came and USSR fell, the old Cold War ceased and a new Cold War began. Who will be the biggest profit king? At present, China and America at each other on this issue. So if you are really looking at it, there's no more true left and true right. Is a syncretism, hybrid mix of who will be the greatest power king. So 11th one I'm suggesting is now what's happening, a neo-Nazi fascist rule. Brands made profit. Only the fittest should survive. Humans are the biohazard, someone said recently. Narcissistic Nazicracy, a Nazi regime. Neo-feudal insidious occupation of health, foods, agriculture, all manufacture. Make consumerism the opium of the masses. Karl Marx said religion is the opium of the masses. And then foster inflammation on social injustice. Until nations lose social immunity, intolerance rules. In disruptive, divisive, divide and rule neo-Nazi tactics. Destroy the visible monster, capitalist USA, to enthrone the invisible monster, the plutocratic oligarchy, with the Machiavellian prince, meritocrats, who know exactly who ought to populate. Population genetic engineering. Whom to depopulate. What people ought to have. Abuse China's human resources and ecology to maximize profit for the new pharaohs of the brands. Cheap production, maximize produce, China's people suffer. Number 12, all the nations will suffer if we do not wisen up. So happiest people on earth, my last little statement, happy are the repentant who do better for others. Happy are the meek whose only reaction is forgiveness. 3. Happy who mourn to comfort others. 4. Happy who hunger a right to help others fill. Happy are the clear-eyed, seeing as God does. Happy are the merciful, for they dispense mercy. Happy are the peacemakers, they make family in nations. Happy who pay the cost to occupy the gaps. Who is equal to such a task? Okay. That's a little sociological analysis. Some of you may recognize where it comes from. Thank you for listening. Share this clip with others. If you want similar clips or my talks on digital issues, please, I have for under 5, between 5 to 10, 10 to 15 and so on, addressing the digital screen issues. Please send a WhatsApp to +94 77 49 59 214. Thank you for listening. Hope you thought it was valuable. Please send me your questions or queries on my premises. I'll be happy to be educated, interact again with you. Please send a WhatsApp on how you feel. If you felt I did not present it through or reason it through well enough, please let me know. Thank you.